Hey, what's up? This is part 3 in the series, the cleanest workflow in the game today. And this right here is really going to help you expedite your workflow in the best way possible. I really pride myself on having an absolutely clean workflow when I work on artists, when I work on music licensing, whatever the case may be. You really want to make sure that you're efficient and that your follow through is there so that every single time you sit down in the studio, in the dojo, that you get to work. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to map an actual MIDI assignment to the reference plugin here. Why are we going to do this? Well, rather than having to open up the plugin every single time and then clicking on this reference button or hitting the key command left arrow key, what we can do here is, regardless if it's on or off, I can hit this button right here and I can go ahead and make sure this toggles back and forth between my track and the reference in question. So I won't be able to play the reference too long just because it's a popular song, but I just want to give you an idea of what this sounds like. Check it out. So you see what's happening is in the background, while this plugin is not in focus, I'm able to toggle back and forth. So how did I do that? Well, I went into the controller assignment window, key command Shift Option K. And so what I did here was I turned on learn mode. There's different ways of doing it. I have a bunch of videos on the series. You can check those out. But essentially, I learned this specific assignment and I went ahead and I clicked on that button right there. And so it assigned that action to the Launch Control XL, which is this MIDI controller. And normally it does not naturally assign to rotate. So what I went ahead and did is just make sure that this is on rotate mode. And what that does is just to hit that rotate button so that this transitions from one to the other just like that. So that's the very first thing that you can do. I want to show you something in a similar vein. It's called tap tempo. This is not necessarily unique to Logic Pro. If anything, it's just not very much talked about or known. And so what we're going to do is we're going to assign tap tempo not to a key command, but we're going to go ahead and assign it to a MIDI assignment. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit Learn Assignment. I'm going to click on this button right here. Okay, so you can see that there has been a relationship created. And so I have a working tempo right now of 130 beats per minute. What happens when I start to tap tempo? Let's do something really fast. All right, so you can see that we're changing the tempo. Let's do something really slow. All right, so if you ever want to play with your tempo settings, that's how I want you to go about it. It's a really, really nice workflow. A couple things just to kind of throw out there. If it isn't working perfectly, you might want to delete all of the tempo markings inside of the tempo lane. So right now everything is clean. You can also hit the key command D, go into the tempo marker here and delete anything. All right, so this should work out a little bit better for us. Check it out. All right, so everything changed effectively and in a very clean way because there was no temporal information within that lane. Bear in mind, you don't want to have a tempo with, a couple of extra numbers at the end here. Probably best practices, especially if you're collaborating, to have a set tempo. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this in at 81 beats per minute. So that's a really, really nice workflow. So this is not necessarily inside of the controller assignment window, but it is within the key command window. Of course, once you do set it up within the key command window, then it will show up within the controller assignment window, as you can see right here. All right, I got two more for you. So if you've never heard of project alternatives, such a great way to go from action to action within your DAW. Let's say you start stepping on your toes. Maybe you're new to mixing and you start squashing something, or I don't know, you're trying to tune vocals and things just go south. This is a beautiful way of being able to backlog and go back in time to be able to reclaim your session. So check out project alternatives and make sure that you label them appropriately so that when you enter a new project alternative, you remember the state in which your previous session was in. So for example, this session, I was working within live loops and I was transferring everything over from the live loops grid to the tracks area. More to come on that. In this particular session 3, I was polishing up the session. I was bouncing to audio. And then one of the things I do once I get full confirmation that a track is done is I fully commit to audio all the way. So this is a really, really nice workflow if you want to stay organized and just really keep things neat and practical. All right, last thing for today. For most of us Logic users, we love software that makes our life so much easier. And if you know Speaker Food, you know Plug Search. This allows us to look for plugins. Let's say I'm looking for a bit crusher, right? It shows me various plugins within my system. Let's say I'm looking for tape. There it is right there. Well, they have another plugin, and this plugin is called Gain Control. And it's a pretty amazing plugin simply because it allows you to increase or decrease the overall gain or amplitude of a signal. This is for audio only. And it also allows you to fade in and fade out for audio. And so what I've been able to do, utilizing the MIDI control feature within Gain Control, is to assign one of my rotary knobs to the gain control. So then rather than having to hit that key command, all I have to do is basically turn this knob right here labeled gain. So there's ways to figure this out, and I have a bunch of videos on the channel about all this stuff, but I figured out that this specific rotary knob is MIDI CC84. How did I figure that out? Well, 2 ways. I utilized a free program called MIDI View. This is inside of the App Store, so you can check that out. Now, you have to know where the MIDI is coming from, and I figured out that this was coming out from DIN 2 because I utilize a external MIDI interface. It could come directly from like the launch control like I showed you before. Just depends on your setup. So if you want to learn more about MIDI, you might want to check out MIDI View, but I also recommend this program here called Audio Bin. And what's really special about this program is that it shows you where audio or MIDI is coming from within your computer. For example, if I start to play the circuit controller here, it literally is showing me where the audio is coming from. So the MIDI, on the other hand, is coming from here. So that's how I figured out that this was DIN 2, because this piece of software was able to help me locate where the MIDI was coming from. So really, really cool program in conjunction. Audio Bin with MIDI View helped me sort out this issue. I wanted to use gain control, not necessarily by using a key command, which is fantastic. And let me show you what that looks like. If I hit Shift Command plus, you can see that I'm increasing the amplitude of the signal. But what I wanted to do was to be able to turn this rotary knob and to do the very same thing. So when we talk about the cleanest workflow in the game, I am not playing around. I truly believe that I have the cleanest workflow in the game. If you think otherwise, go ahead and show me your setup. I would love to hear more of your tricks and your tips. This is Eddie Gray signing off on behalf of Resources for the Modern Creative. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and let us know. And if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the 10 free Logic Pro courses that we have made available to help you become a better Logic Pro power user. All right, team, take it easy. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.